Advertising.
Here with three of the biggest names in advertising, as a matter of fact. And isn't that really, there's two things with the Super Bowl, the game, maybe a little bit of food, and advertising. And I've got a list here of ads we're going to talk about. But first, Adam Chase with Chase Media. Scott Pierce, our good friend from the Salt Lake Trib, sometimes our good friend, usually our good friend Dave Thomas from Thomas Arts, and you're all actively involved in this type of media. So let me ask you, before we get into specific commercials, what has become of this whole concept that we watch the Super Bowl now? It might be the only program where you want to see the commercials. Is that good or bad for the industry?
Well, what you're seeing more and more of is this idea of interaction. In 2012, we really evolutionized, or we revolutionized the way that we deliver ads to the public, where we release them before the Super Bowl's even played. And so you have this interaction where you have this build-up leading you up into the big game.
You brought up a good point, Scott, in that when you look back, is there anything you'd really buy, or did we just spend time enjoying the art of the commercial?
It made me want to go see a couple movies, but
Star Trek, you're like me.
I'm desperate to see Star Trek, but I'm not going to go buy a Lincoln and probably not a Hyundai either. So.
Or kiss a horse.
Oh.
Dave, what about you? Where have we gone with this?
It's interesting, because if you were looking for humor and you were looking for those things that just kind of punched you in the gut, like they used to, like in years past, you didn't see a lot of that this year, but you did see some emotion. And people buy based on emotion, and so those that were able to tap into the emotional side of things, whether it was funny or whether it was something that kind of more heartfelt, a relationship with a horse, something like that. That
just sounds weird, doesn't it?
That kind of
relationship with the horse.
It's kind of
makes
human,
me want to
but
buy.
there you go. But it sticks with you.
Well, let me ask you then, because I think my top five, if you will, is probably quite a bit different from yours, probably because you guys have a bigger heart than I do. I will admit that. So let me just go right through.
I don't know about that.
And let's go. That's a great point. Sorry, Scott. Let me start with you, Dave. Your favorite spot and why?
Well, it's interesting because these companies really know how to segment, and they know how to go after the segments, those that really are buying their product. But I'm not a beer drinker, but that Budweiser commercial
where
got me.
Where the horse sees the guy and comes
I mean, it was so well executed. When the horse turns
around the corner,
I mean, that was just a moment that everybody in our house was just kind of melting.
You're just
sobbing. I probably won't go out and buy a beer, but I thought about it.
You like that one?
Yeah.
It was interesting to me that they made the Clydesdales into big puppies. Seriously, it wasn't like
exactly
having a horse. It was I had my little dogs there, and I thought this is the equivalent of that. That and I actually like the one that you like a lot,
the
which
Paul
is
Harvey.
for the humorous one.
The Amy Poehler.
The Amy Poehler on the Best Buy, which I thought was hilarious.
Classic. You and I are Amy Poehler fans, so that. And what about you? What did you think? Favorite spot?
One spot that might not have been my favorite. It wasn't the most exciting. It wasn't the funniest, but the spot that's going to make me go back and think over and over and over again. So eventually this smog is going to clear, and we're going to break 16 degrees, and you're going to be in your backyard and you're going to be barbecuing. And then spontaneously you're going to go back in the backyard and throw the pigskin around with your family. And you're going to see on an island that you have Uncle Steve there with Grandpa Davis, and you're going to look him off, and somewhere through your reed progression you're going to say hut, hut, and somewhere between that second and fourth hut you're going to start tasting pepperoni and meatballs.
Okay.
Every time we say hut, now moving forward, we're going to think of Pizza Hut. And somehow they've worked that into our lives, that now Pizza Hut's become part of that everyday experience.
All right, very good. All right, we've got more to talk about, and tomorrow night on Talking Sports, all of these three are going to break down the top three, which we tend to gravitate towards the humor side. So we'll do that tomorrow. And Ken, I have the list here, so we'll do that. Adam Chase, Dave Thomas, Scott Pierce, thank you guys so much. We'll see you again tomorrow.